In this short lecture, I'll be talking about custom resource definitions. Custom resource definitions lets you extend the Kubernetes API. Resources are the endpoints in the Kubernetes API that store collections of API objects. For example, there is the built-in deployment resource that you can use to deploy applications. So I showed this one in the previous lectures. You would create a YAML file, you would use kind deployment to deploy an application. In the YAML files, you describe the object using the deployment resource type. You create the object on the cluster by using kubectl. So resource is like the deployment resource. You create a YAML file using that resource to describe the object, then you put that object on the cluster and you have, for example, a deployment running on the cluster. A custom resource is a resource that you might add to your cluster. It's not available on every cluster. It's an extension of the Kubernetes API. Custom resources are also described in YAML files. As an administrator, you can dynamically add CRDs, the custom resource definitions, to add extra functionality to your cluster. Operators explained in the next lecture use these CRDs to extend the Kubernetes API with their own functionality. So in a nutshell, anyone can create CRDs. Those CRDs you would have to add to your cluster, and then you can create YAML files with these custom resources. So you could, for example, rewrite the deployment object as a custom resource. Then you could deploy your own custom deployment object that might do something different than the standard deployment. And what it does different, that's all up to you because you can write that. We are not going to write the CRDs ourselves. We are going to use operators, which are going to use those CRDs that are then going to extend the functionality of your Kubernetes cluster, of your Kubernetes API.